In this final lesson, we're going to talk about correct skin tone and adjust levels under the color and lighting in the guided section of the edit panel. We're still in chapter 6. Go ahead and select this gentleman right here. It's called skintoneguys.tiff. Go ahead and select correct skin tone. And it says skin tone adjustments can be used to remove a color cast from a person's skin or give them a tan. So based on where you click this eyedropper, everything will be changed to reflect that, which you can then further edit with the tan, the blush, and the ambient light. It's pretty straightforward. So go ahead and I'm going to zoom in on the picture here first so I can see his face. Press the space bar so I can drag the photo down. I am then going to press the skin tone eyedropper tool. I'm not going to select the dark side. Usually you never select the shadow side of the face because you never know which color you're going to get. Always select the brighter side. I'm going to select this cheek. You can see it does a little yellow jaundice kind of look to the photo. So I'm going to see if I can fix that for you, or fix that here. Okay, after fiddling with the sliders, I found these here. Tan, put it here, blush here, ambient light. So let's look at the before and after. And we can see it did a better job. It's less red, has a little bit of color in the skin, and it doesn't look pale as it does over here. Again, you can try to your heart's content, and you can also reset it and retry. It's up to you. I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to select this photo here called Adjust Levels Auto Chicago Museum, but I believe this is the planetarium if I'm right. I'm going to go to the after view, and I'm going to choose Adjust Levels. Adjust Levels is one of my favorites, next to curves, of course, and you'll get used to using them like it's second nature, trust me. Let's read some interesting points about what Photoshop Elements provides for you. A properly exposed or adjusted photo makes use of a full range of tonal values, from shadows to midtones to highlights. And it gives you some histograms and tells you what's wrong with them. So let's look at this first one. We can see that most of the tones fall over here in the highlight section. Okay, so if I were to draw it right down the middle, this would be the midpoint, this would be the shadows, this would be the highlights. So we can see we have a full range of the dark area, but we have too much in the highlights. So we're going to have some blown out highlights and not a lot of detail. In this second photo, we see that it's missing something. It's missing the shadows and it's missing the highlights, but I have everything in between. So it's probably going to look a little dull or drabby. In this photo, this is the kind of histogram that we're looking for. Not all histograms are the same, but you generally want full range, meaning that you want your shadows, you want your highlights, and you want your midtones. And then they give you a nice little tip. When you're done, if you want to change your adjustments, you are in luck because you used an adjustment layer. Adjustment layer does not affect the photo, just so you know, it's on a separate layer. You can go to the full edit section and play around with the levels adjustment until your heart's content. It doesn't say that part, but I'm just adding that in there. So let's go back up here and pick create levels adjustment layer, at which point you can name it. I'm not going to name it, leave it as it is and click OK. And what do you notice about this histogram? While we've seen an earlier histogram in this before, see, looks familiar? So this histogram tells me I have my midtones, but I don't have any shadow or any highlight detail, so it looks a little drabbish or dull. Now let's see, it has some options for me here. I always want to make sure the preview is selected, of course. And I can click the auto button. There's always an auto button somewhere, right? So let's click auto. Okay, that's nice, but it seems it's a little too, I don't know, we're muddy or something. So let's reset it. Okay, the next option would be we can take the black shadow and bring it in until just below the first pixel that you can possibly see in this histogram here. And we can do it with the highlights. And we can see how this changes the photo. You can just change the midpoint to make it, see how it changes the midpoint. That looks nice. But I'm going to show you the way that I usually do photos. So I'm going to reset it. I'm going to go up to this thing called channel RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. I'm going to go to the red channel, shortcut Alt+2, And I'm going to press the Alt key on your keyboard first. Then I'm going to select the black shadow point and drag it to the right. You notice that it's red? That's telling me I'm in the red channel. I'm going to do this until I start to see some pixels here. The first set of pixels, which you saw down here. Then I'm going to go ahead and select the Alt key and then select the white arrow and drag it in just below the first set of pixels there. I'm going to do the same thing in the green channel. I don't trust auto sometimes because I don't know exactly where it's going to put these points, so I tend to like to do them myself. Again, I'm going to the blue channel. I'm pressing Alt, and I'm going to move the shadow to the right until I see the first few sets of pixels. Press Alt, and then move the highlight in until I see some pixels. And bam, there you go. If I want, I could adjust. I rarely adjust the mid-tone in each of these channels. I'll go to the master channel called RGB and see if I need to play around with the gamma here to make it better or worse. To make it better or worse, yeah. Once I'm happy with it, I click OK. And let's look at a before and after. What a difference, huh? It doesn't look over the top. It doesn't look dull, drabby. It looks nice. Now, if I were to scroll down here and then click Done and go to Full Edit, you'll see that it put a levels adjustment here. And you can see that this is my original picture called background, and the layer above it is called the levels adjustment layer, which I'll explain in a later lesson, where you can further adjust your levels if you need to. Now let's go ahead and click on guided edits again, and we're going to close this photo. I'm not going to save it. And let's select the next photo here, which is already selected for me. Nice. I'm going to pick adjustment levels again. It's going to convert it to 8-bit. Select OK. Now look at this histogram. We see we have a lot more in the shadow detail here. As you can see here, it's a lot darker than it should be brighter. But I also see this little point here. So it looks like I have highlights, but it could be deceiving. So I have to investigate the picture. Where are my highlights in this picture? I see my highlights over here in these clouds, but they're blown out. I can't see anything. So that's probably not the correct highlights. Okay, so let's see what happens if I click auto. That's okay. Click reset. Let me adjust this a little and see what happens. Okay, that's nice, but not really. Now let me use my method. So I'm going to go to each channel, press Alt, and move this in a little, and I'm going to go to press Alt on the shadows. Now look, you see that first part blown up? That's a blown out sky. If you have a blown out sky, you need to go past that and then select the next bit of pixels because it's blown out, so you can't save it. Okay, unless you got camera raw. That's just a side note. Okay, now go ahead with the green channel. And see how the green channel is doing the same thing over there? You're going to see that all three of these channels are blown out in the highlights. Okay, now look at it. Nice. We'll go back up to the master channel, or RGB. Click OK. Let's look at a before and after. Nice. Very nice. Now let's take the last picture real quick and then go to after only and see what adjust levels can do for it. Click auto. Nice. Just that alone, and look at the photo. So let me reset it first. The histogram is almost perfect. I know it shows a little bit more detail heading towards the shadow section, and there's some shadow detail missing here and a little bit of highlight detail, but maybe if you were to enlarge this histogram, maybe you would see that there is some there, so you got to be careful with that too. But if you click auto, look at that, how much it corrected that photo. It's amazing. Click OK, see the before and after. Oh yeah, I mean, that's nice. Maybe it's a little bit too on the reddish side, and we could have fixed that with the adjustment. But I wanted to show you that the auto function can work sometimes. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about the lens effects, the depth of field.